I'd like to bring this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. President Michael Beach from Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is here, I believe.
Our Father in heaven, we as community members come before thee this evening and express our gratitude and thanks unto thee for the many blessings that thou hast given to us, especially this time of year as we embark on celebrating the birth of thy Son. We are grateful for these individuals who are here this night, who are freely giving of their time and sacrificing to serve their community, and pray that thou would bless them, that they may have wisdom and understanding and patience as they listen to different topics being presented to them this evening. We pray for our community and ask thee to pour thy Spirit out upon it, that we may be unified as a people, as a community, as citizens, friends, and neighbors. We express our love for thee and for our Savior, and again, our gratitude to be here, and all who are coming forward to present topics of discussion this evening. We pray that thou would bless them, that they may have the spirit of understanding, that their minds may be open and enlightened as they present their topics. And we pray for these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte. Here. Commissioner Withington.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner. Here. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter. Here.
Next is approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington. Yes. Commissioner Lawson. Yes. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next on our agenda is the section marked public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment this evening on any topic? If so, please come forward and address the commission. Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Administrator?
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These items may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 13 items on tonight's consent agenda. The first is Commission meeting minutes from November 21st, December 4th, and December 5th. Followed by Resolution 2024-337, approving the Clay County Collector's Report and recommendations of tax sales surplus of certain parcels. Resolution 2024-338 is approving invoice payments for Clay County from the period of November 28th to December 6th. There are 327 invoices totaling $517,650.36. Resolution 2024-340 is approving ARPA funding and signed proposal to purchase an audio-video system for the Law Enforcement Resource Center with audio acoustics. Resolution 2024-341 is approving ARPA funding and signed proposal to purchase and install a card access reader and camera system for the Law Enforcement Resource Center with CNC Group. Resolution 2024-343 is approving funding for appliances for the Law Enforcement Resource Center with Lowe's Home Center. Resolution 2024-344, approving the ARPA funding for power service and setting the transformer for the Law Enforcement Resource Center, and to execute easement documents to facilitate the installation with Platt Clay Electric. Resolution 2024-351 is approving ARPA funding for furniture for the Law Enforcement Resource Center with contract furnishings. Resolution 2024-352, approving ARPA funding and contract to complete special building inspections and testing services during the construction of the Law Enforcement Resource Center with CFS. Resolution 2024-353, approving ARPA funding and contract to complete building inspection services for the Law Enforcement Resource Center with IBTS. Resolution 2024-351 is approving ARPA funding, award RFP 92-24, and sign contract with Decker Construction Services for the Smithville Water Supply Connection Project. Resolution 2024-348, approving authorization and obligation of $110,000 of unallocated ARPA funding for tourism and marketing personnel costs for 2025. And Resolution 2024-358 is the appointment of Michelle Hausman for an unexpired term to the Domestic Violence Board.
There we go. Is there a motion related to this evening's consent agenda?
Yes, move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Are there any comments or discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington. Commissioner Lawson. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to our regular agenda. First item on this evening's regular agenda is 2024-366. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-336 is a request of waiver of fees, interest, and penalties and taxes due to a county error. The applicant's address is 5610 Northeast 80th Terrace. I believe the applicant is to be in the audience, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'm afraid I would. Is he Mr.?
Is the applicant present?
Well, the applicant was supposed to be here. Well, first it was going to be a call-in, then he was going to try and make it, and if he's not here, then we will certainly try and reach him by phone, and actually try and Teams call him in. So I would ask the control room if they would try and reach him to see if possibly he was not able to make it and wanted to dial in.
All right. Very good. Hi, this is Jerry Nolte from the Clay County Commission. Is this the applicant for the waiver of fees and payments on the taxes, the county property tax? I'm sorry. What did you say?
Sir, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, but no.
Okay.
Great. This is Presiding Commissioner Nolte. We have just begun to take up your issue, so the only thing we've done up to this point is just introduce it as the next piece of business that we take up. If you would like to, would you care to make any comments or make a presentation related to your application? And please state your name for the record so we have it on our audio recording.
No problem. Good evening to everyone, and my respect to everyone there. I couldn't come this evening, but I will tell you in details what went on. So I own two vehicles, one of them is my personal car, and another one is semi-truck. For both of them, I had big repairs, For both of them, I had, for the semi-truck, I had big repairs last year. For this personal vehicle, I had repairs this year. I recently spent more than $5,000, and it's still about to go to the treatment for engine. It's not repaired yet. Believe it or not, still using my semi-truck as personal vehicle. The idea is, if I'm not able to use it. I mean, it's not specific, and it's supposed to be used. I was about to ask for waiver for property tax for that. Because the property tax for most of these vehicles is making around $1,700 for both years, 2023 and 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, sir. I will now ask any commissioners who might have any questions of the applicant. And because the applicant is obviously coming in by telephone, please, commissioners, when you make your inquiries, please identify yourself so that the applicant knows who is addressing him. Commissioner Lawson, I believe you had something you wanted to say?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Joanne Lawson, and I'm the Eastern Commissioner at Large. So I've read about your case. I wish there was something I could do to just abolish those taxes. Unfortunately, legally, I can't do that. However, were you aware that you have the ability to make payments on that? You can make weekly, monthly, whenever you can, pay something to the collector. You need to get with her and let her know what your arrangements would be. But, that's really about the only thing we could do at this point. Would that help you?
No, it's not helping.
I'm sorry?
No, it will not help me. I mean, I can make a payment, but it's not gonna help the situation because I owe the money for my shop and another thing, So, anyway, thank you.
Okay. Well, see, there's a law that says even though we would like to, legally, we would be in violation of the law if we said we abolish these taxes unless we had made a mistake, and which our collector, of course, hasn't on this instance. So, I don't want to lose my job when I say, okay, well, we'll forgive these. I can't do it. None of us can do it. So, like I say, I would want to help you in any way I can, but the only way I can do that is for you to make payments on this. And that'd be about the only way.
Yeah, that's not something what I asked for, but it's okay, no problem. I appreciate your time and effort. Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner, I think you were seeking recognition.
Yes, good evening, sir. My name is Scott Wagner. I serve as one of the Western Commissioners here. I was actually going to, I was going to explain some of the things further, but Commissioner Lawson, I think, explained our issue pretty clearly. But just to reiterate, we are bound by state law on what we can forgive and what we can't. And it is very narrow what we can forgive, and it only comes if we are at fault, either through our collector's office or the assessor's office. And so I'm afraid, sir, we are, to my colleague's statement, we are bound by what state law says we can do. And unfortunately, a reason to forgive those penalties and interest is not financial hardship. That is not a reason in state law for us to do that. And so unfortunately, our hands are pretty tied. It's pretty straightforward. And I want to acknowledge the hardships that you have said, both written in the application as well as what you've presented us today. And I think we are all very sensitive to that. But unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do it for that reason alone. Yeah.
Is there any other commissioner wishing to comment? Do we have the written statements from staff? Does staff wish to come forward and say anything at this moment? Is there anyone else wishing to comment on this particular item? Okay. In that case, I'll be looking for a motion. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I move to approve 2024-336 with a box marked denial.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-336 with the box marked denied indicated. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The request has been denied by this body, so once again, we certainly wish we could do something other than what law compels us to do. But thank you for coming in and making your case. Next item on our agenda is 2024-339. I believe, is it? Yeah, 339, yes.
Resolution 2024-339 is approving invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of November 28th through December 6th. There are 14 invoices totaling $8,345.59.
Okay. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve 2024-339.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-339. Is there any comment or discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
Next item is 2024-356.
Resolution
Administrator?
2024-356 is approving ARPA funding and RFP 69-24, preservation, imaging, and indexing of county records with Revolution Data Systems for the Recorder's Office. And Recorder Brock is here to give just a brief overview to the Commission about the project.
I would point out that whenever someone comes up to address the commission, please make sure that the green light is on the microphone, as was just lit up. Speak clearly into the microphone, identify yourself, and then proceed with your comments. Therefore, please proceed.
Hi, my name is Sandy Brock, Recorder of Deeds.
Could you speak a little bit more into the microphone,
Yes,
please?
sorry, is that better? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Sandra Brock, Recorder of Deeds, and I'm here to talk about our preservation, imaging, and digitizing for our records. And it's been a long time coming. I know you've heard a lot about it. So I understand we have some ARPA funds that are available, so that's going to help us along with our phase 1 of our multi-year project. We had 6 vendors that came. Out of those 6, we chose 3 to consider, and we narrowed it down to 1. The one that best suited us had the most experience, not the most experience, I'm not going to say that, had experience, they were qualified, and they were also the lowest bid. So I think that will get us moving in the right direction, and like I said, it's just a multi-year as funds come available, and we'll see how that goes. But phase 1 should be completed this next year.
That's good to hear. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I know we spoke about this last week, but just since the recorder's here, I want to just point out one of the nice things about this particular item is that as we close out other projects, funds from those closed out projects can go back into this one to continue. And I don't know if either of you would like to speak to that.
I'll answer that. That is correct. As the Commission is aware, when we did an update on our county ARPA projects, there are many that are ongoing. Several of those are construction projects, stormwater projects, and as part of that project budget, we always have a construction contingency amount. And so when those projects are completed, and if there are funds left over, especially out of our construction contingency, those ARPA funds are available under the new rules to go to an existing project. And so with this particular project, it is a multi-phase project, and so awarding this, as those funds become available, we will be able to do the next phase of the recorder's project, which I believe is starting to index the documents, which is a great value to those looking online to have access to these records. So this is a great project to make sure that the county utilizes all the ARPA funding over the next 2 years.
I'm sorry.
Of course. There you go.
Just to point out that I probably shouldn't do it, but unlike other counties, we have found a way to spend our federal money, and I appreciate that opportunity, so. Go. I have a lot of friends over there, they don't care. Anyway, we'll see. With that, if I may, I move to approve 2024-356.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-356. Is there further comment? Commissioner Lawson, did you? Oh, I thought you were lit up before. That's okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to 2024-345, Administrator.
345 is approving RFQ 71-24 and professional services contract with SFS Architects for the space utilization and optimization study for the detention center and Rooney Justice Center. And Deputy County Administrator Coons is here to talk about that project.
Please proceed.
Good evening. Donna Kuntz, Deputy County Administrator. This is also another topic that you've heard about in the past, but with the population growth in Clay County, which is good for all of us, the probability of us having to add another division court, Division 10, is looming in our near future. We are outgrowing our buildings, and so this would be a space study. And since it was based upon a qualification basis as to how we're selecting SFS, we had 7 vendors that applied, and we narrowed it down through a scoring system. We had our circuit clerk, Lee Buckstaff, and Major Phil Kofer from the Sheriff's Department that was part of the review team. We narrowed it down to 2 architectural firms. We then went to the purchasing department, met with our purchasing department, and conducted interviews and had them do oral presentations to us. After the conclusion of those interviews, the team then again rated the 2 vendors that we had gone through the interview process with, and our final selection that we'd like to present to you is SFS Architects. They brought to the table extensive backgrounds in working with governments, working with other courts. They have done numerous projects. Jackson County, Kansas City City Hall, the police facility that Kansas City is involved with, Platte County, the city of Olathe. They've done over 50 projects within our area dealing with governments, courts, and law enforcement agencies. They also bring to one of their other things that they brought that we also were very interested in was that they have an additional resource that's going to partner with them of Dewberry Architectural, and they have a background in detention facilities. They also asked some very good questions when we went through the interview process. They asked questions about how we handled inmates that had mental health issues. They asked if we had any CALIA certifications. We discussed with them our NIJO certifications as to those processes and how we actually handle our inmates. They had made a site visit prior to their formal presentation for their qualifications and noted how we are currently handling inmates going back and forth to courts, the security of our judges. So we really feel like this group, based upon, since this is for qualifications only, that they presented the best and most comprehensive proposal to us that could meet our study needs.
Thank you very much for your forward-looking attitude towards this, because you're right, we are growing quite quickly, and it'll be, we'll be outgrowing facilities right and left before we know it. So thank you for undertaking this project. Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none. Is there any motion? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve 2024-345.
Motion been made for the approval of 2024-345. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington. Commissioner Lawson. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next on our agenda is 2024-346. There you are.
Resolution
You're moving too quick for me.
Sorry. Resolution 2024-346 is approving ARPA funding and accepting proposals in the amount of $675,000 for the construction of the transition facility with Piper Winds Architect, the Wilson Group, and CNC Group. And I have just a brief presentation to the Commission about this project. It is the last ARPA project to come before the Commission. This is not necessarily a new project. In fact, this is one that we have been working with Judge O'Hara and the staff from Juvenile for a year, trying to find a location for a project, for a facility that would meet their needs. And so you heard a little bit from Judge O'Hara during the budget process. You heard a little bit from me last week as we were going through the ARPA projects and recommendation. So what I have for you this evening is just sort of a brief overview of what that looks like and what the project would look like. So the location of the property is on Schrader. This is a parcel that the county currently owns, and it is just east of our facility on Schrader, where we house our planning and zoning department, our IT department, and our GIS department. And so this diagram, I'm just going to kind of use my pointer here. I'm not as good as Director Jones that knows how to use the little colored lines, but this is Schrader Road. This is our current building where planning and zoning is located. This is the parking lot for our Schrader facility. So the intent of here is great from an economic standpoint, is that we do not have to build a parking lot for the transition facility. Their activities occur in the evenings, and so there is no conflict with our staffing. What you see here is a concept design of how the project would lay on the property. So again, this is a parcel that the county already owns. This hashed dark area is actually the building itself, and what you see here is the line is basically the fence line. One of the goals of the staff in this particular program is to have a secured play area for the children, and so you can see here that we have quite a bit of flat green space that will be fenced in that can be used for the program. So just kind of giving a little bit of familiarity exactly where we are. So this is again Schrader Road. This is looking west on Schrader Road. This particular tan building right here at the top, that is our existing building. You see there's a residential here. Across the street is a cemetery. This view down below is actually looking east on Schrader, and this is right here, the edge of our current building. And right here, just about where this pole is sort of the vacant land that we're proposing that this project would be built on. So just camping what's in the neighborhood, this particular parcel is just west. This tan is our current building where planning and zoning is. And so this is the property just west of it. And as you can see, this is the side view. So that when you look at our design, you'll see that we're proposing the same, that it facing the street will be a side view, so that's similar in the neighborhood. On this one is more of showing you the building lot, which is fairly level and great for our needs. This is, again, the tan is a planning and zoning building, our parking lot, and then you can see adjacent to it is a residential lot. Down below is the front of our planning and zoning facility, the Schrader facility. And then this lot shows you again, right here is our vacant lot, and you can see there are 3 small homes just east of our lot. And so we've tried to, working with a preliminary design on this project, to build a building that actually blends in. And the other aspect is, in talking with the judge and staff, is because of the type of program we have in this facility, wanted it to look more home-like than an institutional type of building. So what you have here is a concept design of what the building is proposed to look like. So this is basically, when you see the 3 windows with the shutters, that is the face of the building that is along the road. That is along Schrader again. The front of the building and the entrance actually faces the parking lot, ADA accessible sidewalk, which is something that we've not had in our other facilities, is an ADA accessibility, and sharing and going straight out to the existing parking lot that we have. You can see then this is really standing back almost kind of at our parking lot between Schrader, looking forward towards the street. So you see this is the front entrance. It has a sidewalk along the front that will lead into a double gate into the secured area. This is the sort of the back of the building, and there is also a door that comes out of the building into the secured area, so individuals inside the building can have access to this play area. This is just another structure of it. As you're going west down Schrader, you would kind of see this. This is sort of the front of the building that's facing Schrader. This is the side of the building that would face the homes that are on the east side of the property. And then this is standing back at the edge and kind of looking frontward again regarding that. This is a concept design because this is a design-build project. So the Wilson Group is the firm that we're hiring for design and construction. Piper Wind is recommended to hire as the owner's rep in the project, and then CNC is sort of our security with our badges and our cameras, and security is a high priority for the judge on this particular building. And just to walk you through conceptually what this looks like, again, if you follow the cursor, this is the door in. There is a little bit of reception area in which they will check in individuals. There are 6 rooms. There are 3 here on this side, 1 here, and then there are 2 over here. So there are a total of 6 individual meeting rooms to meet with families individually. They are different in size because families have different sizes. And so we have a couple, a larger one, we have a medium one, and then we have some smaller ones. So depending on the size of the family that is getting together, they'll put them in the appropriate meeting space. This room right here is actually intended to be a training room. Dr. Hargrave, as you know, has come before, very successful in getting grants, does a lot of education and training. This room will be set up for that. It can house about 20 individuals. And this is where the back door is going out to the play area. So this is sort of a multi-purpose training room area. Also, should they have a need for it, it also could be a family space to meet. One of the things important in the design of this is this open space, because during these visits, we do have security. There is a deputy that is in the building at that time. And so the desire was to have where the deputy had access to and visibility of all the rooms. So we sort of have this open lobby area. There is a small, sink, under-counter refrigerator, microwave. These are families here. They may need to warm bottles. We may have children that need to have medication that has to be refrigerated. So we've taken that into consideration along with 2 small restrooms. And that's really the aspect of the building. It's about a 2,000 square foot building. This is much larger than they've ever had, and they can certainly do more families at one time than they've ever been able to do. I'm very comfortable that this will help them as they grow. This is the budget for the project. So we currently have already encumbered ARPA funding, $450,000. We had a one-time ARPA allocation of $50,000. So there's $500,000 that's been allocated to this project all along. However, based on the proposals, as we talked about last week, where we've gone out and got quotes for design build from 3 of our qualified vendors on contract, the $500,000 was not sufficient for the project. So we're recommending allocating our final $175,000 of ARPA to this to give a total project budget of $675,000. And how that breaks down is the Wilson Group for the design and construction, the design build, $591,000. Piper Wind as the owner rep is $19,500. CNC, which is cameras all the way around the building, some cameras in the building, in the front door and the lobby area, along with card access, and then some small allocation for equipment for the refrigerator, the microwave, the training room, to equip the training room for them, and that totals the budget of $675,000. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we have Judge Fluke here. Unfortunately, Judge O'Hara could not be here this evening. We also have Janet Rogers here. They'd be happy to answer any questions about the program or the need, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Let's go ahead, and if anybody has any questions for the administrator, let's go through those and then extend the opportunity for anyone else who would like to come forward and comment. So Commissioner Lawson, go ahead.
What did we end up with square footage on that, Diana?
It's about 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
In this particular drawing, and I would like to point out, this is a design build. So while this is a concept, you know, it will sit down and be finalized to come up with the design and the construction plans. But conceptually, the layout is with the input from the judge and from Ms. Rogers.
Okay. What did we initially talk about long ago on square footage?
We've talked about a lot of things on this
Sure.
project. This one is, it's certainly smaller than originally I think everybody wanted to do. But at one point we were looking at an existing facility. This one is probably square footage is a little smaller than the one that was originally being proposed to purchase that unfortunately we were not able to acquire. Certainly much larger than the existing facility that had been used.
Yeah.
One of the things, because again, price came in and I'm like, really? But again, I remind the commission that this is a county project, so prevailing wage comes into play. And so if someone's thinking, which was my reaction, is really a 2,000 square foot home would cost this amount of money, but unfortunately, or fortunately, our process and what we're required to do is different. And so that does have an impact on our price.
And as far as staff is concerned, like Janet and the judge and everybody, they're okay with the smaller building?
I defer to them. They've certainly been part of it. I'm sure they'd like to have more.
Well, sure. And I'd like to have them have more, but we have to live within our means, I guess.
Good evening, Janet Rogers, Juvenile Officer. Yes, ideally we would love to have, more square footage, but this is something that we absolutely would be able to grow in over the next, I'd say, 10 years or longer. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Well, I will say this will be vastly superior to what you have, and so I look forward to what we get in this process, and that's really my question. And maybe I missed it last week, or I've just spaced it. But when would we expect the facility to be open?
Correct. In our preliminary meetings with the Wilson Group, their thought process was after approvals, they'd like to get started in February. They would start construction, and their goal would be by the end of May, so June 1st, they could hopefully be in the facility.
That's great. That's great.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to you and the judge and Janet and everybody. I know that this has been a very long process. We've analyzed, dozens of different possible sites in different locations. Glad to see it finally come into a place where it's going to work out. And look forward to hearing from either of you if you got some additional comments or anything we can answer. But and I just echo, Commissioner Wagner's comments earlier. I think we had a pretty sizable majority of our ARPA funds allocated by the end of 2022. And so, and proud of that, proud of the way we've done it, and thanks to you, Administrator, for helping us, and everybody, Don, everybody, for helping us identify projects that were our highest priority projects and get that money spent. It is fascinating to me that here at the end of 2024, there are, tens of millions of dollars down there unspent. Glad that we did it the way we did it, and proud of the whole team that works here at the county for making that happen. Thanks.
Thank you also to everybody who is involved in this, because it has been a rather long road. I think that one of the things that I find particularly great about this is that, A, we had the land to go ahead and build on, and then B, that we're putting up new construction. Whenever you buy any piece of property that is an existing piece, you're going to have a certain amount of repair, upkeep, all those kinds of things. And the only certainty is it's going to run a lot more than you anticipated, whether you're buying a house or whether you're buying a commercial building. So we are starting with basically a clean slate, so all the systems are new, so we don't have to worry about maintenance right out of the chute. So thank you very much for the hard work that you and everyone involved has done on this. Judge Fluke, if you'd like to make any comments, we'd be happy to hear them.
Just want to, on behalf of the court and especially Judge O'Hara, who's been spearheading the project from the beginning, thank you so much for all you've done to help us get here. And as ever, the courts generally appreciate how the county treats the court in general with budget. We consider ourselves very lucky and very well supported. And even in tough times, you all do a good job of making sure we can get our job done for the citizens of the county. And that goes well noted all year long. And but this particular project is a very good one. As you might know, the juvenile court is a slightly different creature in court. The role of the judge and juvenile staff, they're not just prosecutors of the conduct of children or certain family issues like parental rights, but they're also partly in the business of trying to teach men and women how to fish and allow them to heal and allow families to be returned together and have processes so that we can transition people to being on their own again. And in the end, this investment will save the taxpayers money down the road when families are together. They're less likely to see children fall into the criminal system in adulthood. I know you've seen data on that. But this investment will have a return. It'll get good results for all of the county, and we're very pleased with all your efforts to support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, I move to approve 2024-346.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-346. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The final group of items on the regular agenda are three items which are grouped together. That would be 2024-349, 2024 Ordinance 37, and 2024-350. Those are companion issues, I take it?
That is correct. So I'd like to introduce all three of those items, please. Resolution 2024-349 is the transfer between funds in the amount of $411,180 to provide sufficient budget in the Law Enforcement Fund 279 for the last payroll of the year on December 27th, 2024. 2024 Ordinance 37 is to reappropriate and revise the adopted budget for the current year in the amount of $411,180 to provide sufficient budget in the Law Enforcement Fund 279 for the last payroll of the year on 12/27/2024. And the final item is Resolution 2024-350, the transfer within a fund in the amount of $140,000 to provide sufficient budget in the Law Enforcement Fund 279 for the last payroll of the year on December 27th, 2024. Apparently I have a typo.
Mr. Auditor?
I'm sorry, Auditor Herbert is, I'm sorry, the year printed wrong kind of threw me. The Auditor Herbert is here to provide information about this transaction.
Mr. Auditor, please
Yes,
proceed.
Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. So yeah, part of my role as accounting officer is to certify available funds and budget, and that includes things like payrolls. Like the administrator mentioned, we have one last payroll in the year, December 27th, 2024. And essentially what is before you with these three items is we're facing in the Law Enforcement Fund 279, roughly a $580,000 projected deficit from what we can tell by trends and analysis. Now, that's a big number. but it represents roughly only 2% of the, law enforcement payroll budget, sheriff budget. And in addition, 40,000 of that for the SRO department. The reason for this, and the sheriff here is tonight, he can speak to it as well, but we assess that it's really due to overtime going over budget. And so we allow this to go to the end of the year in the event that vacancy savings in the total payroll budget could cover it. And in fact, that does cover a good amount of this particular shortfall in the overtime budget. And we assess that could be a number of things. We do track some of that data. A lot of it is in detention. And so as we know, next year in the budget, we're offering, with the commission's approval, to increase detention officers' starting pay. And I think the sheriff rightly believes that could help with, attracting, recruiting more detention officers for those vacancies and address that overtime issue. In addition, any surplus that remains in the law enforcement fund, we could bring to you in the budget to essentially increase next year's overtime budget. The source of most of this transfer is coming from the TIF fund. We've identified a surplus in our TIF fund, or tax increment financing. Currently, there's $3.2 million in the TIF fund. And so after this transfer of $600,000, it will go to $2.675 million. According to our financial policies, that's going to be 102% of next year's budgeted revenues of $2.6 million. 2024 total expenditures, because we've made all of our expenditures, we make them as soon as we get our sales tax for those economic activity taxes, is $2.7 million. So essentially, we're at a place, because of our true-ups over the year, that we are on a really a balanced basis for the TIF fund. We're going to see, we hope to have revenues in and expenditures out. And so that's a good place where we want to be. So that's essentially all the information I have. I'm happy to answer any questions, and of course the sheriff is here as well.
Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. So first of all, I appreciate the explanation, and just really wanted to point out, I think that is part of the reason why what we are budgeting for the TIF program next year is going from 7 to 6%, so those funds can reside in the general budget, so we don't have to transfer them out in the future. And I guess the question that's associated with that and with our budgetary discussion is ideally, by raising the salaries, we can bring folks in so that we no longer have to rely on overtime. But having said that, assuming we do get some of those positions filled and the need for overtime is less, then the amount that we are setting aside or not setting aside through TIF will hopefully, I mean, there's always a true-up you have at the end of the year, and I understand that, but we'll get closer to the number, more of zeroing out, so we're not having to make a transfer. I'm just kind of projecting into next year and expectations.
That's right. Yeah, so that's essentially where we're at. It's been, historically, it's been a challenge. I think we had some fairly large projects, as we've discussed before, terminate. And so we think where we're at currently, what's the surplus at the end of this year is more an issue of over-withholding of our sales tax rather than it is a immediate termination of a certain project. There have been some of those this year.
Right, sure.
But so again, we feel that looking at next year's budget, we're going to be on a good operating basis of roughly 2.7 million in, 2.7 million out, and so it does bring the discussion of what to do with that remaining fund balance. I think you do want to be prepared as a contingency, and we have good financial policies to deal with that because it's a moving target. As far as what is the proportion of county retail sales in TIF districts across the county, and any new ones that come online, because that's kind of the nuance of looking at, well, how much of our total sales taxes from retail establishments do we need to basically withhold to cover that liability? And so we've made estimates over the past, and we feel we're getting a little more accurate. So.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
I'm going to recognize Commissioner Lawson next. Mr. Sheriff, if at some point you want to chime in, you can either do that now or we can wait, whichever. Excuse me? Okay, well, Mr. Sheriff, if you'd approach the dais or the podium, Commissioner Lawson, you are recognized.
Thank you. Quick question. On this overtime, what do you think percentage-wise is just where we're shorthanded, or the percentage that, say like your program that we talked about the other day, has that played into the overtime to some degree?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. Will Aiken, Clay County Sheriff. I don't have an exact percentage, but I would say that a great amount of the percentage would come just because we're short on staff. You know, if I really dug into the numbers of overtime that Sheriff's Office operations is contributing to this deficit, it would be very low. It's almost all in the jail.
Oh, in the jail?
In the jail,
Oh,
in the
okay.
detention center, yes.
Okay.
Because of the short staffing. So I'm
Yeah.
short-staffed on detention officers and deputies that work in the jail. I'm not short-staffed on road patrol investigations. Even though I do have vacancies, they're still able to carry the load with minimal amount of overtime
Right.
usage.
Okay.
Now, I will say that too, to caveat that with, we're in the Christmas holiday, and that's where we're starting to see a lot of commercial theft, shoplifting and stuff like that. So barring any kind of special operation that we're conducting with other law enforcement agencies, then, you know, again, the overtime is minimal.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I had noticed also, Mr. Sheriff, that there were some porch pirates that seemed to have found a new place of residence, I guess, for the moment. Congratulations on that. That is, you were talking about the increase in activity given the holidays, and that is a sad side effect of the holidays. But clearly you folks are doing your job over there, and we certainly appreciate what it is you do. And I think the other thing that I'd like to point out is, as someone who's been here for a while, and there are lots of people who've been around this building for some time, I want to give credit to this commission because it was not always such a good relationship between the sheriff and the commission. And I want to say that each and every one of these individuals, as far as I can tell, is very supportive of your office and what you are doing. And it's just such a breath of fresh air. I realize it's been a while and we've had good relations. However, I think it's something worth pointing out just because we shouldn't become too complacent about the good relationship we have with law enforcement, and I think pointing that out every so often is useful so that we don't become complacent and that we do, I guess, relationship maintenance might be one way to put it. So thank you for what you folks are doing.
Absolutely, and if I could, I do want to give a shout out to all the Clay County Sheriff's Office employees, you know, for the hard work that they do, even though just tonight, we're having to have 2 to 3 employees stay over on a forced 18-hour shift because we just don't have the staffing. And that's just one example, but they remain committed and dedicated to the job and the service of Clay County. And, you know, as an example, the 2 porch pirates, we identified the female almost within, hours. And then we caught, if you haven't seen on our Facebook page, we caught the male that was involved 2 days ago trying to loot us. And so, you know, with everything else that's going on, the job continues, and our people do the best they can to make Clay County safe. So I definitely want to give them a shout out.
Well done to yourself and everyone that is part of your team. Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, I move to approve 2024-349, 2024 Ordinance 37, and 2024-350.
Thank you.
Motion, thank you, sir. Motion's been made for approval of 2024-349, 2024 Ordinance 37, and 2024-350. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Withington. Commissioner Lawson. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That concludes our regular agenda for this evening, and we've not been going for an hour yet, and we've already gone through about a page and a half of items, so I think we're moving along rather well. We'll work on that. That brings us to discussion items. There is one item under discussion, so let's see, that's the administration. So Administrator, if you'd like to take a lead on that.
Thank you very much. So I mentioned this last week during my report with regard to talking about Christmas Eve and closing 4 hours early, closing at noon on Christmas Eve. Since I brought that up last week, we've received notification that the governor has closed the state offices on Christmas Eve at noon. And so I provided in your packet some information about what that would look like, that process. And I suggested last week that this comes up periodically. And so I suggested that if the commission was interested in doing something on Christmas Eve, they may want to consider amending the personnel manual so that it basically is every Christmas Eve, if it falls on Monday through Thursday, that offices would be closed at noon, which would be adding an additional 4 hours of holiday. Now, I do want to correct something that I said last week about how we actually operate. And we had some discussion that said for those employees, again, that work, because we're a 24/7 operation, that they got the 4 hours and could take them at a later date. That's not how our process works. So when there is a holiday, whether it's one of our 14 holidays at 8 hours or this one, what happens is on that payroll week, every employee is given that number of holiday hours. So in this particular case, on Christmas Eve, every employee would get 4 hours of holiday pay. If they're not working, then that's their 4 hours. If they are working, then they get the hours that they work and an additional 4 hours. So coming to, if we do this and the commission approves it, you know, there is an additional cost of 4 hours on a countywide basis for those that would be working in their 24/7, which was typically in our detention, our communications officers, in juvenile, and certainly the sheriff's office. The commission was very gracious this past year on July 5th, which was a Friday, and closed offices. And so we had 8 hours of additional holiday. And so in the information there, I had our HR team look up and say, for those that were working and we paid them 8 hours, what did that cost us, right? The county. So that was about $40,000 for that particular day. So, and you could assume it can fluctuate from holiday to holiday, how many are actually working that day. But if you granted 4 hours on Christmas Eve, I would say take that in half. And so, you know, adding that particular holiday to the employees would possibly add an additional $20,000 to pay those employees for the holiday pay, but they're also working. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think there was a question about, because again, it is busy time for tax collection, year end, a lot of people. And so there was a question about how many people come in, especially for the collector on Christmas Eve. And so I put that information in there. We have not been open for the last 3 Christmas Eves, right? Christmas Eve was either on Sunday or Saturday, or it was on Friday, and we close on Friday when Christmas Day is on Saturday. So we have to go all the way back to 2020, which was COVID, and we only had 29 people come in on Christmas Eve that day, so very, very few. Now, 2019, pre-COVID, there were about 110 individuals that came inside either here at the courthouse or at the annex to the counter and with the collector's office for taxes. So I wanted to share that information with you also. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I propose some language that if the commission wanted to make this a regular observed holiday, that a language that would go into the handbook for your consideration.
So before we open this up for discussion, what is it you're seeking from us this evening?
Well, so I think what I would like to have from the commission is consensus. And you have 2 options. You may say, okay, Diana, let's just deal with this Christmas Eve, which is right around the corner. And so is there consensus and a majority to close at noon this Christmas Eve and give me that direction? I will still come back and we'll start that. We'll let the employees know, we'll start letting the public know, but I will still come back next week with a resolution for the commission to take that official action. Or you could decide to change the handbook and do it, and we'll handle it the same way. So,
Very good.
but I am
Now,
looking for consensus that you want to do one or the other, or neither.
I just want to make sure that everybody understood what the process we were going to be going through before we got the discussion going, and so that everybody's on the same page. Commissioner Withington, I believe you were the first to seek recognition.
Yeah, I would like to give, I want to do both. I want to give her consensus, and I think we have consensus on a majority consensus to tell staff that they get this Christmas Eve off. But then I also want to make sure we put it into the handbook for future, so we don't have to have this discussion, because frankly, $20,000 is not, I don't look at it as an expense. I think our employees deserve to have half a day off on Christmas Eve. So, I don't think this is a discussion we should be having every year. So I want to, everybody else can speak, but I want to make sure that we can do both. Give her consensus that they get it this year, and then update the handbook so that way we don't have to do this every year.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawson.
Okay, I think this is imperative that we do this. I called Judge Fluke the other day, and I said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, because we have federal employees and the governor has said, we're closing, he said, we're going to go ahead and follow suit, and we're closing at noon. So the courts are closing at noon. I'd like to see us close at noon, and those individuals, like our sheriff's deputies or the jail people or anyone else, that cannot take off, they get their 4 hours in future. And then I think that'll take care of it. Now, I don't think that's going to be that big of an expense, right?
Well, how it would work, Commissioner, is they would not get their 4 hours in the future. They just get paid an additional 4 hours if they're working. That is the way, it's the best way to handle it from our payroll system. And, again, if you give them hours to take later on, then again, it creates challenges with, backfilling some of the positions. So it actually is more efficient just to compensate the employees that are having to work for those additional, which is how we handle all our holidays now. So we just handle like any other holiday. May I ask Commissioner Lawson, you're talking about this year, are you supportive of putting it in the handbook and changing it going forward?
Well, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
Is it legal for us to make commitment for future commissions?
Sure. It's in the handbook, yeah.
Okay, then yes, I would like to do that,
Sure,
absolutely.
a future commission could always say, we don't want to do that and change it back, but
Sure.
you could certainly make it a handbook change.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if I could remind the commission, you just did, actually. Last week, you already did make a change in the handbook. Just recently, we did one. So yes, you can do that.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and I appreciate the numbers because that's what I asked for, understanding, what effect, if any, it may have on our public. So appreciate the numbers. It's always a good reminder to know that in the past we've had Christmas mostly on the weekends, or Christmas Eve on the weekends, and so we've almost programmed, if you will, our residents that were not around Christmas Eve anyway. And although the counter activity here doesn't break it out into mornings and afternoons, it strikes me that half those people are going to probably show up, or more, will probably show up in the morning because they've got Christmas stuff to do anyway. So it's a pretty de minimis number. And in my own conversation a couple days ago with the assessor, he seemed to substantiate that the history of this day has been one where people, if they do their business, they're going to do it in the morning, and by the afternoon, they're probably hitting Walmart or Target trying to get the rest of their Christmas list done. And I'll probably see them there myself later this year. So since my middle name is not Ebenezer, I'm just going to go ahead and agree with my colleagues to go ahead and do that for this year. Let's go ahead and put it in the handbook. That seems pretty fair and without very little effect on the residents we serve. So I'm good with that. Thank you.
Commissioner, the only thing I don't understand is you said the rest of the Christmas shopping. That's when I'll be doing all of my Christmas shopping, so there we are. One is a start. Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, no, just want to join in, fully support doing this, making it permanent in the handbook. So I'm a yes on both. So let's do it. Love Christmas, and I think it's the right thing to do for our employees. Let them have the afternoon off on Christmas Eve. So.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. In the spirit of being the employer of choice, I also agree that we should probably give our employees those 4 hours off and moving forward, putting them in the handbook. As somebody who's been here for a while, I've been here on Christmas Eve and let staff go home. And I cause nothing but trouble as a person who is left in the building when no one else is here. So it's probably best that everyone just goes home and spend time with their family. And I feel comfortable that, we do have other avenues to pay your taxes. If you can come in the morning, you have the Dropbox, and you have online, so.
Very good. Thank you. I think it's a pretty obvious consensus that we would like to go forward with the plan for this year. And I think there's also a consensus to change the handbook. I think the idea of changing the handbook as we go forward is a good one, because if we take this up every year at about this time, it inhibits the ability for, first and foremost, those who we work for, the citizens and taxpayers. It gives them more adequate notice, and it also obviously allows our employees to be able to plan their holidays much better. So I think having something in the handbook that outlines this policy makes life easier on everybody all the way around, and it makes it more efficient. We don't have to take this up each time. We've decided what it is we as a commission would like to go forward with. So I think, unless anybody disagrees, I think the consensus I'm picking up on is to go forward with the early closure, and to go forward with an ordinance alteration that would reflect that going forward.
So thank you very much on behalf of the employees, and we will notify our employees if they're not watching already. We will also start publicizing to the public on social media and the direction that we will be closed at noon. Next week on consent agenda, I will put the amendment to the handbook that will become effective that night. So that will take place for this year and then going forward.
And that gives you everything you need to go forward. You need nothing further from us. Great. Okay, well, that concludes our discussion item. That brings us now to reports. First report is the auditor's cash basis monthly report. Administrator, why don't you just go ahead and go through the reports rather than me recite them one at a time, please.
Thank you. There are 3 reports in your packet this evening. One is the auditor's cash basis report for November 2024. Also, there is an annual report for the Clay Como Special Road District number 4, and also the parental leave policy report. This is the first year of that program, and so we provided information about that program. And both Auditor Herbert and Director Callahan are in the audience if you have any questions about any of those reports.
Very good. And those reports obviously are in our packets. Next is administrator comments. Please proceed.
Just a couple of items. First is we have a ribbon cutting next week, December the 17th at 1 o'clock for the Endicott Bridge. And hopefully everyone had the invitation. Love to have everybody come out. Hopefully it's a warm day and sunny and not too cold. Also, meetings for the budget continue. So there are 2 budget workshops that are scheduled this next week. On Wednesday, December the 18th at 9 a.m., that will be the assessor's office budget and the road and bridge budget. We'll also start into the 5-year CIP. Followed by on Thursday, December the 19th at 9 a.m., we'll finish up with the CIP, and then also have then time for deliberation by the commissioners on any direction you want to give to us on any changes about the budget. Again, what we're scheduling for the budget is public hearing and adoption on January 9th. And then the regular commission meeting, business meeting, is Thursday, December 19th at 6 o'clock, and it is the last meeting of the year.
I believe, Commissioner Wagner, you were seeking clarification?
Yes, Administrator, just for those of us who have work schedules during the week, what should we budget time-wise on the 18th and 19th? I noticed we went kind of long the first time.
We did.
We were kind of short this time, so just, and I may be the only one, but I suspect not, that we'd just kind of like to know
Well, so my thought process, which is why we're kind of changing the schedule, because I do think going from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock this Wednesday, I think we will definitely get through the assessor's budget, the road and bridge, including projects, and get into the 5-year CIP. You know, depending, possibly by 1 o'clock, we actually may make it through all of that. And there may not be a need for Thursday's session. Or it may go to 1 and then just a little bit on Thursday. So, and again, we can, since we have 2 days, it's up to the commission.
Gotcha.
If you would like to shorten Wednesday from 9 to 11 and, you know, finish. I'm not sure we will need 4 hours both days to finish up, but.
But as I am notorious for asking questions,
Yes, you
I will
are.
keep them to a minimum if that helps everybody's Thursday. So thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I know you will.
Yes.
I know.
With that, that brings us to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Lawson?
No.
Commissioner Withington?
Yep.
Good, you're on. Good, go ahead.
All right, so I want to start by congratulating our friends to the west, Platte County High School, the Pirates. They won the Class 5 state championship this year. Just a little bit of their district comes into Clay County, so probably none of the football teams, but we'll congratulate them anyway. Also want to say congratulations to former William Jewell football player and now Oregon Duck head coach, Dan Lanning. The Oregon Ducks won the Big Ten Conference Championship in their first year. Hey, John, do you know who didn't play for a Big Ten Championship this year? Yeah, USC. So at least one Pac-12 team did good in the Big Ten this year. And then you know, we can all see that Commissioner Johnson is not here tonight. Commissioner Johnson and his family are celebrating his son Noah Johnson. Noah's graduating from paramedic school tonight. Noah became a full-time firefighter and EMT for the Lee Summit Fire Department at age 18. Wow. Now he's going to be a paramedic at age 20. The joke around the Johnson house is that Noah injects people with fentanyl and ketamine, but isn't old enough to buy alcohol. So congratulations, Noah. Your family's really proud of you, and that's all I got.
Okay. I'd like to just make a couple of short observations. One is that as we have gone through the budget process, we have been reviewing some of the accomplishments of this government, both administrative and the elected officials, and it is quite an impressive list. I just want to say, as we wind up this year, congratulations to everybody involved, because this has been a stellar year as far as the performance of Clay County and its ability to get things done. And sort of a subset of that is congratulations to everyone, and I want to shout out the auditor in particular for the ability for us to administer those ARPA funds that were entrusted to our care. It looks to me like if we give them $7 back, that's going to be quite a surprise. So I mean, it's been it has been a great privilege to watch the way the county has been working together and the way that we have been able to put these funds to work for the people as they were intended. I think it was somebody made the observation that perhaps there were some of our neighbors that were not doing quite as well. But I just want to say it's a very proud time to be a person living in Clay County and to watch the workings of so many dedicated public employees. Thank you very much for that. With that, we are adjourned.